Alright, hello and welcome to Irrational Magic for another Best of One Zendikar Rising draft. Got my glasses today, a little bit easier on the eyes, don't be fooled, it is no disguise. Hopping on in. I trust you can see through the tomfoolery. Get on in. Big old full art planes. Beauty. No time at all. No delay. Will the luck be with me? Do you believe in the heart of the cards? Are you a believer? Always the one spot. Looking a little bit blotchy today. It's always a pain. I can't really change my camera settings too much without messing with the green screen, and that is a whole nother monster of an issue. Whole nother monster. I need myself a real, professional lighting studio. Timed out. What does it mean? What does it mean? Got a whole new room, a better room, a more magnificent room with better people who don't rare draft. At one spot. One spot in that corner. Come join us, the water's warm. Step on in. There we go. Sleepy Ash. Woke up. And exact same rare as my last pack. Myriad Construct. I actually performed pretty well. Kind of a mediocre card in general, but 4 mana 4/4 with kicker for 3. Gets a +1 counter for each non-basic land your opponents control. When it is kicked, if it is targeted by any spell, it dies and creates 4 1/1s. So it's kind of weird. It's kind of easy to remove, but at the same time, it doesn't really hurt when your opponent removes it. Nahiri's Binding in the pack, very strong. Wind Rider Wizard has performed quite well. Very happy with that card so far. Can it be Baloth? Territorial Scythe Cat, so pretty strong pack overall. And a pass could push the person beside me into either white or green. A lot of really good white. Probably Journey to Oblivion gets picked up when I pass this pack, but Nahiri's Binding is pretty competitive, almost on par with that card. But Myriad Construct goes in every deck, so I think the value of just having a guaranteed colorless card that I will play is quite high. 2 mana counterspell, unless you pay 1 attached to a land. Very good. Skyclave Plunder, one of the better card draw spells, if not a little bit slow in the format. What else do we got? Stonework Pack Beast counts for every member of the party. Drug Visionary lets you draw when it enters the battlefield and trades quite favorably. Quite favorably indeed. But I think easy Skyclave Plunder. 2 cards that I did play in my previous draft. Repeat the future. Repeat the past. The past and the future are one, repeating themselves in an infinite loop of certainty. What else do we got? Cascade Seer, 4 mana, Scry Wizard. Chilling Trap is actually really amazing if you end up with enough wizards. Rabid Bite here. And if I do end up in a blue-green kicker style of deck, that would be really cool. Rabid Bite is premium removal. Pretty happy with this spell. Chilling Trap performs extremely well in the wizard deck as a 1 mana cantrip that helps you win just about any combat. But Stonework Pack Beast is probably one of the best utility cards in the set that just ends up in every single deck. So a little bit sad to pass up on what would be a guaranteed inclusion. And maybe it's an even better pick, but Rabid Bite is just premium green removal. And I don't think I can pass up on a choice so good. And seeing a lot more good green. Taunting Abermage, pretty underwhelming. You kick it and can force a specific block. Veteran Adventurer I actually will take over another Rabid Bite. 5/5 Vigilance, that discounts itself. Gnarled Colony can kick, come in with counters, gives creatures with counters trample. All very strong stuff, but the 5/5 stat line just wrecks face. Cleric of Life's Bond, probably the best cleric. You could pick up Seagate Colossus. We got the white landfall creature. Glacial Grasp, Chilling Trap again. So it's kind of between, so we have one Party Matters card so far, and then 0 party creatures. It's kind of between the Chilling Trap and the Seagate Colossus for me at this very moment. Might as well just grab 2 big payoffs, as I will try to pick around Party Matters. And Spoils of Adventure, another extremely good draw spell. But maybe we don't find enough blue to make this deck work, as there are very strong white cards. Practice Tactics in the correct deck is very strong. Shepherd of Heroes, just massive life gain flyer in the late game. I do like Spoils a lot, but I'm still not convinced we're going to make these colors work. It is splashable because it comes down so late in the curve, but Shepherd of Heroes is just performs a lot better. More consistently, a lot better. 4 mana, Myriad Captain, 1/1. Flying Vigilance, enters with counters equal to number of creatures in your party. So we have an immense number of reasons to push the Party Matters mechanic at this point in time. Negate, I don't actually think is main deckable in this format. Skyclave, Gargoyle, Broken Wings, and Royal Eruption, making it to pick 8, the best red common. Kind of insane. But do we ever play red? Like, we're not on track at all to be in a red deck. It's pretty insane for this to make it so far around the table. But Broken Wings has just actually been excellent. Hitting a creature with flying, artifact, or enchantment very often finds a relevant target. The 3 mana wizard that lets you loot whenever you cast instant sorcery or another wizard. Very good. This is a 3 mana warrior in green, fits the curve. So kind of between these 2 cards. This is a much, much better card, but I also, man, I don't know that I'm even going to play blue. Human Warrior 3/3. Pumps creature by 1. Stonework Pack Beast is exactly what we want to see. I'll play as many as I can find. I think that's our own Confounding Conundrum, making it all the way around the table. It's kind of funny. Basic Camp, I don't even think it's a good card for splashing colors. Spare Supplies is kind of a really slow card draw spell. Chilling Tap, I guess I'll play for the payoff and pick up a Brute. So perhaps I'm splashing white, perhaps white doesn't make the cut. These are very strong cards. And a warrior. 3/1 warrior on 2. Felidar, Retreat, Landfall. Whenever land enters the battlefield under control, either create a 2/2 white cat beast or put a +1 counter on every creature that you control. Pretty amazing rare. It is slow. You can just get blown out if you play this with an empty board and don't follow it up well enough. But it is strong enough to simply take over games. So I'm going to be looking at white, green, and possibly splashing into blue. Ooze, 3 mana 2/2. Enters battlefield, put a +1 counter on target creature you control. Whatever it attacks, put a +1 counter on each attacking creature with a +1 counter on it. Oh my. Can it be very strong? Scythe Cat, very, very good. Being past a good rare in green is kind of nutty. Sadly, it's an ooze, so it doesn't fit any of the creature types that I'm currently trying to push. Pickaxe gives a creature landfall +2/+2. A Rabid Bite, Canopy. Lots and lots of good cards here. But I think I have to pick up a premium removal, and even, wow, Rockslide Sorcerer is excellent. And Song of Mad Treachery is a fantastic card to have in the deck. Just fantastic. But I'll take the green kill spell, another Rabid Bite. So unbelievably open. I think we play as many as we find. Triple Rabid Bite. Making its way into the deck. So green-white, pretty well supported colors. With a little bit of blue on the top end if I want to run a premium draw spell. And the curve actually looks pretty fine, but with a card like Felidar Retreat, I really want to be able to fill up the early part of the curve with relevant spells so that I'm not getting run over. This card, as long as this card is in play and the game goes on long enough, it will just simply win. It can very easily win you the game. So just being defensive enough on board is extremely valuable. 2-mana 1/1 warrior with double strike is pretty interesting. And it's in my colors. Thinking the 4th Rabid Bite is gonna be a little bit suspect. Tazim Royal Mage in blue is a very strong card. 2-mana 1/3 landfall, gain a life. I suppose it keeps me alive. Tazim Royal Mage is so much stronger in this pack than just about anything else. It doesn't even fit a creature type. That makes that card so much worse. No, I'm taking the powerful blue card, whether I run it or not. Territorial Scythecat, hitting the landfall matters. Reclaim the Waste, man, might actually be good enough in this deck, but this is a premium 3-mana card that grows over time. And I would love to pick up 5-mana 5/4 that gains life. I don't really need more life gain. Warrior on 2 with a +1 synergy actually performs very well. This is a very playable card, but I think I'm doing fine with late game spells. I don't know that Seagate Colossus makes the deck yet. I don't really have a lot of party matters. A land that adds a +1 counter. I would like Nisa's Zendikar a lot, turning a land into 4/4 elemental, except that it gets absolutely wrecked by Bubble Snare. Ooh, a 4-mana 4/3 turns it into a 6/5 off of a landfall. Pretty crazy value in that card. 2 of them. Green is just massively open. I'm getting pampered right now with powerful green spells. Hell, I might even run 2 Broken Wings. It's just been that playable. Green-black dual land. Shame to pass on that card for the sake of my constructed future. 6-mana 6/5 trample, enters battlefield, return up to 2 lands. So huge synergy with landfall. But I don't know that the card is first pickable. There isn't a whole lot else here. Skyclave Pickaxe is actually quite strong. 1-mana equipment that gives you landfall. Emerald Captain, I like a lot. I just don't know how many cards that I've triggered. That will trigger it, and I'm overloaded on 4-drops. I already have 5 good 4-drops, that none of which I'm really interested in cutting. So I'm going to take a good equipment here. And 2-mana 2/2 first kick spell costs 1 less. Gets +1 counter whenever you kick a spell. Wow. Takedown, instant speed, kill spell at 2 mana. Attached to a land. Really amazing. Shadow's Verdict. Board wipe for small creatures in black. I could pick up a second Gecko. At least what I believe is a second Gecko. That would be a first. Takedown is just insanely good. It's an insanely good card. 3-mana 3/3 with kicker. If it was kicked, return target card with a kicker ability from your graveyard to your hand. Drug Visionary, but once again, I have lots of good 4 drops, I mean. Lots of good cards in the 4-drop slot. Another kicker card, not a great card. Gain 2 life, may play an additional land, draw a card, put a +1 counter on something. Tazim Raptor, just a flyer that returns a land to your hand, and it's going to be nice to have something in the air. Whereas the rest of these are pretty mediocre. Skyclave Sentinel, like, it's a kicker spell. It works with +1 counter matters. But it's kind of an underwhelming card overall. Whereas the Raptor has, like, real utility to it. Vastwood Surge. Search out 2 basic lands. You can kick it for a total of 8 mana to put 2 +1 counters on all creatures you control. Gnarled Colony here too. Another great card. I don't know that I can actually make the Party Matters thing work, but I think this spell actually beats out the 2-drop. Pack 3, pick 5. We are short on 2-mana spells, but I just think this is a great card. I think it's a great card. 2-mana Cleric and white, 3-mana 3/3 Warrior. Like a 2/2 Vigilance is fine. And it just kind of ensures I have a blocker early. And it fits the creature type matters. I think it's enough to be playable. And a Stomper perhaps makes the deck. Bounce 2 lands. I have some pretty good lands to bounce. And I have lots of Landfall Matters cards. But I don't think I want to play more than 1. I am ramping pretty hard, but Dauntless Survivor just works really well in the deck, and also supports my rare with the +1 counter synergy, and I even pick up a second Stomper. Not bad. Target creature control gains indestructible. He's a human cleric on 3. I don't know that he makes the final cut. I currently have too many cards in the deck. And Riptide. Pick up that Kicker Matters in blue. Did I end up with 3 rares? I did. I ended up with 3 pretty good rares. So these 2 cards are essentially lands. And maybe I find a spot for the Skyclave. Add 2 mana of any one color. Spend this mana only to cast kick spells. Not a big fan of that land. I've actually never seen it used to good effect. So it seems like the Party Matters theme is not the main focus of this deck, although I do have lots of support for it. So double strike, cleric, warriors, lots of warriors actually. So I have some kicker synergy. Honestly, the Felidar might have been a little bit better than Emerald Captain. I have lots of landfall matters. But honestly, the party thing is doing all right. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, every single early drop counts for party, and that means a lot in a deck like this. It sure means a lot. So this comes down as a warrior. and most of my other creature types are also warriors. So unless I have either Cleric or Stonework Patch Beast in play, this comes down as a 4-mana 3/3 flying with Vigilance. If I have one of those cards, which is actually pretty decent, the +1 counter has huge synergy with Orin, Reef, Ooze, so I think it's worth attempting to make that synergy work as best I can. I have 2 ways to bounce lands in the late game, and I think for that reason I don't actually need the Tazim Raptor, as I'd much rather be bouncing lands at this point than on curve at 3. It actually just hurts you a little too much. So looking for cuts in this deck, it's actually a little bit tough. So that puts me at 17 lands, if I'm correct. So this is 15, 16, 17 lands. A Veteran Adventure I cast for 5 typically, and sometimes less. I didn't find any. I always call it Harrow because it's a reprinting of Harrow, but the 3-mana instant speed, sack a land, search out 2 lands, enter the battlefield, tapped. Would have been fantastic in a deck like this. But as it is, this is just kind of an interesting landfall +1 counters matters. Just a high quality deck in general with big creatures and big beaters. And a good number. 4 kill spells, including takedown, which is pretty legit. 3 rapid bites, 1 takedown. Fortification for the +1 counter synergy. Again, I'm going to say this pretty much every single time I draft the set, but you have to evaluate these cards as tap lands first and a relevant spell later. So while on the face of this card it looks completely unplayable, the fact that you're just replacing a land in your deck for something relevant that protects you against flood is extremely relevant. And I feel like a lot of what happens in this deck is going to depend on whether or not they remove key threats like Orin Reef Ooze. But Felidar Retreat, Enchantment win con, people almost never have an answer to enchantments. And it's pretty interesting. I can Vastwood Surge to get 2 lands, and then later in the game, I can kick Marasa Sproutling to get it back, and then use Vastwood Surge to pump my entire board by 2, or to get 2 triggers off of something like Felidar Retreat. It's pretty cool. So I don't have a lot of synergy. Maybe that's even the only one. There are only 2 kicker spells in the deck. Yeah, there are only 2 kicker spells in the deck. But they're good kicker spells. They're just good. And I have plenty of cards in the sideboard I would like to play. But I just don't see a relevant cut. Something like Expedition Healer, I suppose, could go. We have 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 2-drops. 4 3-drops. 6 4-drops. So yeah, we bottleneck on 4. We bottleneck on 4. These cards are just so good. The quality of all my 4-drops is kind of insane. I could see cutting like Expedition Healer. And then running, I don't know, Broken Wings or Skyclave Sentinel. +1 counter synergies and kicker synergy on that card. Broken Wings I think is legit. I think it's very playable. Amiri Captain is guaranteed to enter with 1/1 counter, and so it ends up being a flyer that just grows itself off of the ooze. But I have like no combat tricks. in this deck, which is a little bit awkward. I'm just going off of pure stat lines. A human cleric that gives indestructible. So I'm pretty happy with how the deck turned out. And I'll go ahead and pimp my lands. Should I mix and match some of these beautiful Zendikar Rising cards? So right now I have 9 green and 8 white. It's pretty reasonable. Pretty reasonable. 3, 6. Oops. 3, 6, 7, 8, 9. And what beautiful white lands do I have? And 7, 8. So 17 land deck. And I know it's been recommended by popular Magic players like LSV and the other guy I can never remember the name of, to run like 19, 20 card, 20 land decks. Even they go as high as running 21 land decks when you have enough of these dual-sided lands. But I just find you end up flooding even more often when you do something like that. And I prefer the risk of possibly not hitting land drops every single turn to almost being guaranteed that I will very rarely flood out on lands. I much prefer the upside of not flooding to the downside of sometimes not hitting your curves. Your land curve? Your curve of land drops? You know what I mean, right? You all know what I mean. But this deck, I would consider running. I have a lot of landfall. It's definitely not unreasonable to run more than 17 lands. I have a lot of landfall and my curve is quite high. But card quality is also extremely high. Like, what, do I cut a Brute? It's the only card here where I'm like, yeah, it's not doing that much. Doesn't really have that great of implications, but it's a 3/3 warrior. It just it does what you need. It keeps me alive while I win off of Felidar Retreat. So pretty solid. And I'm gonna have to check the time here in case I need to split my video. Now we'll see if we can get in the game. I am eager to run the deck. See what sort of shenanigans we can get up to. Very similar to my last draft is that green ended up being quite open, a lot of powerful picks being passed. I think people compete a lot over the black and blue rogue strategy. And then life gain probably being the highest consistency deck and probably the number 2 favorite. Excellent starting hand. We have a 2-mana play, nothing on 3, but we're going to curve out quite beautifully. And picking up that landfall equipment. So we can potentially turn Sellsword into a 5/3. So if he doesn't have an answer to this, it's going to get pretty crazy fast. And my stereo system has turned off once again. What it loves to do. The 1/4 will not save you, my friend. It will not. So drop the equipment before we put down our land. It's a little bit scary that he has the 1/4. When we cast another creature, or whenever another creature enters the battlefield under control, you gain 1 life. Definitely a card that can be abused. So yeah, lifelink. Whenever Hierophant or another cleric you control dies, return target cleric card with lesser converted mana cost from your graveyard to the battlefield. Pretty sweet. Pretty sweet. I could pump this 3 times. I could get 3 lands down this turn. But I think having good creatures on curve is a little bit more important. And I also can stack landfall, which is kind of insane. And if he wants to trade, I'm pretty happy with that. I don't think racing me at this point is the responsible decision. It's interesting, like, Baloth. I can trigger multiple times in a turn, as with this card, which brings me pretty close to lethal. But I much prefer just having a good blocker for the 3/3 lifelink. I can get 3 landfall triggers. I can +6 my landfall creatures. But I can't do it at instant speed. It is telegraphed. So if I do that first main phase, he just chump blocks. And I think I get a lot less value out of a play like that. Spare supplies, so we can spend 2 mana, tap, sack, draw a card. Just playing this pretty slow. Veteran Adventurer discounted here. Does he double block my 4/4? Do I care if he double blocks my 4/4? Not really. His cards are much higher value than mine. So any sort of trade is pretty much in my favor. So I imagine he double blocks here. Yep. So I'll kill off his premium rare. He might be able to get it back. There are lots of ways to do that in black. Or he combat tricks me. Is this an instant? It is. Target creature gains indestructible and in turn draw a card. If it has +1 counter on it, it does not. So, perfectly happy to slow roll this down. And holding on to Vastwood Surge with Felidar Retreat in the deck might actually be a huge win con if I pull that out. And I think this is the point where I consider not playing lands. Yep, I'm just going to stack the board with landfall. And then have a really big attack next turn. He could have triple blocked the 5/5, and I would have been able to kill 2 creatures, assuming he didn't have a combat trick. But these cards are going to be almost enough damage to kill him by themselves. So 3, 4, 5. Now, how much landfall do I commit this turn? So we're pretty even on green and white. I love that sound effect. It's a rock slide. Are you ready? And I almost have lethal. I can instant speed turn this to an 11-10. What shall it be? He does have options. Seems like he has relevant cards in hand. So this is kind of the true test. Yeah, none of these are great for you. And I do not have trample. So we'll kill off 2 creatures, hit him for 5 in the face. He gains 3 life. What's your trick? Okay. You need another trick. He gains 1 life off doing that. I really thought he had something more relevant than gaining 1 additional life. Okay, so he can return a cleric from his graveyard to the battlefield. And I'm under no pressure to cast Dauntless Survivor. I can wait until it makes more sense to make use of my counters. But I have no bad top decks at this point. Oh, that's sweet. Okay, so I can kick this guy. And I can get Vastwood Surge from my graveyard back to my hand. Or either of these, actually. This is a much better card. And next turn I can kick this and drop a land, which is pretty amazing. He only has 2 toughness in blockers right now, or 2 power in blockers. 2 power in blockers. And really no good trades. I will play this a little bit cautiously. I don't want to lose the 4-3 to a combat trick, as I pretty much have guaranteed lethal next turn. But I'll go ahead and attack in with the 6-6. There isn't a lot that's going to punish me for that attack. And the next turn I get 3 triggers of landfall, and I pump all my creatures by 2. And it's hard to imagine a world where that does not win the game. Yeah, that would have been insane. So it would have been +6/+6 on 2 of my creatures. View battlefield. So this would have been a 10-9. This would have been a 9-7. And then I pump the entire board with 2 counters. So 11-9. Oh, no, okay, this would have been a 10-9. So it would go up to be a 12-10. This would be a 9-7 going up to an 11-9, an 8-8, a 5-5, and a 3-3. Would have all attacked him. And that's with no draws. That's not even considering what my draw would have been. Pretty awesome first game. Epic showing of the deck. And there are even more spicy rares to go. What a game, what a game. But taking a quick break, I'll be back to finish off this series. See you in no time.